Hey, story lovers. Welcome to another story. And tell me at the end, do you think that the decision Kelechi's wife made was fair? Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. In a quiet farming village on the far edge of the king's lands lived a man that no one respected. They mocked him. They laughed when he walked past. They said he was weak. They said a man who spoke so little could not possibly be strong. They saw a man that didn't speak as a he-goat. Some even wondered how a woman could marry such a man. But what the villagers did not know was that the quiet farmer they laughed at had ended the lives of some of the most dangerous men in the kingdom. And by the time the truth reached the village, it would already be too late for some men. The man's name was Kelechi. He was 31 years old, tall and broad-shouldered from years of working the land, though he never carried himself like a warrior. His movements were calm, measured, almost humble. Some villagers saw him as nothing more than a quiet farmer who kept to himself. Kelechi lived in a small hut near the edge of the farmland with his wife Chioma and their young son Obi, a lively 5-year-old who followed his father everywhere. Each morning before sunrise, Kelechi walked to the fields with his tools across his shoulder. He worked harder than most men in the village, but when the work was done, he returned home quietly instead of joining the loud gatherings beneath the palm trees. The men beneath the palm trees enjoyed mocking him.
Look there, the silent farmer again. A man who never speaks must have nothing in his head. What kind of woman marries a man who cannot even defend himself with words?
The laughter echoed across the village. Kelechi never answered them. He simply continued walking, and somehow that made them mock him even more. Chioma heard the whispers. She heard the laughter, and she knew exactly how the villagers saw her husband. But she never shouted in the marketplace. She never argued loudly. Instead, she lifted her head and continued her work, fetching water, preparing food, caring for Obi as he ran barefoot through the yard chasing chickens. Sometimes, when the mockery became too loud, Chioma would say only one thing.
My husband is a good man.
Then she would walk away. But inside their home, things were not always so simple, because even Chioma did not fully understand the man she had married. Years earlier, Kelechi had arrived in the village alone. No brothers, no parents, no elders to speak for him. In villages like this, such a thing was unusual. Marriage was not simply between two people. It was a joining of families. When the elders asked where his people were, Kelechi told them only that his village had been destroyed many seasons ago. Bandits, he said. Fire and steel had taken everyone. He was the only one who survived. The story was tragic enough that no one pressed him too hard for details, but it worried Chioma's parents.
A man with no family carries shadows. Who will speak for him when trouble comes?
But Chioma saw something different. She saw the man she loved. She saw a man who worked harder than anyone in the fields. A man who avoided the foolish arguments of the marketplace. A man whose silence felt more like discipline than weakness. So despite her parents' doubts, she chose him. She married the quiet stranger with no family, and though she loved him deeply, a small voice in the back of her mind sometimes wondered if the story he told about his past was the whole truth. Kelechi was gentle with Obi. With his son, he laughed more easily. He taught the boy how to plant seeds, how to read the wind in the fields, how to listen to the sounds of the forest. But with Chioma, there was always a distance she could never quite cross. Many evenings they sat beside the cooking fire in silence. Chioma would speak about the day, about the gossip in the village, about their child. And Kelechi would listen, and sometimes he would nod, but he rarely spoke about himself. Often, she would watch his face in the firelight and wondered what thoughts lived behind those quiet eyes, what memories he carried, what secrets he kept.
Why do you keep so much inside? You speak to no one, not even to me.
Kelechi stared into the fire for a long moment.
Because the man I am would only bring danger to this house.
he said nothing more. But to Chioma, he had spoken volumes. And that answer only deepened the mystery surrounding him, awakening a growing need in Chioma to uncover the truth about her husband. Not long after, strange rumors began traveling across the region. Traveling traders brought stories from distant towns. Dangerous men were dying. Bandit chiefs who had terrorized entire villages were suddenly found dead. Warlords who ruled through fear disappeared without a trace. Corrupt leaders who had stolen from the king were discovered lifeless in their own camps. No one knew who was responsible. Some believed the king had sent secret soldiers. Others whispered that spirits walked the land punishing evil men. But the traders all agreed on one thing. Whoever hunted these men moved silently, and whoever they hunted never survived the night. One season, danger came closer than anyone expected. A brutal bandit leader began attacking villages along the outer roads of the kingdom, and close, too close to the farmer's home. Farmhouses were burned, livestock stolen. Men who resisted were killed. Fear spread quickly. The villagers sent messengers to the king begging for protection. Days passed, then weeks, and the villagers waited anxiously for the king's response. That same week, as fear crept closer to the village, Chioma stayed longer than she should have. The market had been slow to close, and by the time she began her walk home, the last light of day had already begun to fade. The path was familiar. She had walked it many times before. But that evening, the air felt different, heavy, unsettled. Chioma adjusted the basket in her hands and quickened her pace. The trees stretched long shadows across the narrow path. Somewhere in the distance, a branch snapped. She stopped, turned slightly. Nothing, only the quiet hum of night insects beginning their song. She exhaled softly and stepped forward and froze. A man stood in her path, tall, strong, and intimidating. He stood still, watching her. Chioma tightened her grip on the basket.
Who are you? Move.
The man did not speak. Chioma took a deep breath, kept walking when the man sidestepped to block her path. Move, she said, her voice steady, though her heart had begun to race. The man did not move. Instead, he smiled, slowly.
What is your hurry?
I said move.
Or what?
Another man stepped onto the path, then a third, from the bushes. They were laughing now, low,
So this is the
amused.
village people speak of. Huh? The one with the beautiful women. And they walk alone at night.
Stay back. Do not come closer.
They did not listen. They moved in, slowly, confidently, enjoying her fear. Chioma's eyes darted between them. No escape, no help. The forest had gone silent.
Please.
She said, the word barely leaving her lips. The first man reached for her, and then stopped. Something had changed. The men felt it before they understood it, a presence behind them. They turned, too late. A shadow moved, fast, silent. The third man dropped first, no scream, no warning. The second barely had time to react. A flash of steel, and he fell. The first man staggered back, confusion replacing arrogance. The final strike was clean, precise, and then silence. Chioma dropped to her knees, her hands trembling as she covered her ears, her eyes squeezed shut. She had heard enough, felt enough. Something monstrous had attacked the men in the darkness, something merciless, a savage beast. The men were torn apart right there in the forest, and she knew she would be next. The world spun in sound and fear, and then nothing. No movement, no voices, only the quiet return of the night. Slowly, she lowered her hands, opened her eyes. The men lay still, motionless. And as the fear that had held her frozen began to lift, her eyes cleared. Then she saw him. That posture, that height, that unmistakable stillness, blood dripping from the knife in his hand. Her quiet husband, unshaken, as though what had just happened meant nothing at all.
Kelechi.
He did not answer immediately. He simply looked at her, calm, measured. Then,
Go home, Chioma.
not, are you hurt? Not, are you okay? Just, go home. Chioma's breath caught, because in that moment, she understood. The man she had married was not just quiet, he was something else. And in that moment, Chioma realized she did not know the man she had married. One night, Chioma, who had grown painfully alert to every movement her husband made, woke to the sound of quiet voices outside their hut. Careful not to wake Obi, she rose from her mat and moved silently toward the doorway. Through the narrow opening, she peered into the night. A rider on a dark horse. His cloak hung heavy over his shoulders. Even in the moonlight, there was something unmistakable in the way he carried himself. Straight, disciplined, not like a villager. Kelechi stood before him in silence. The rider reached into his cloak and drew out a small scroll. He placed it into Kelechi's hand, and for the briefest moment, moonlight caught the wax seal. Chioma's breath caught. She knew that symbol. Everyone in the kingdom knew it, though few ever saw it up close. The seal of the king. The rider spoke only a handful of quiet words. Then, with the ease of a man accustomed to secrecy, he turned his horse again. Within moments, he disappeared down the dark path, swallowed by night. Kelechi remained where he was, standing alone beneath the moonlight. Then slowly, he broke the seal. He read the message once, folded it again, and turned toward the hut. Chioma stepped back from the doorway before he could catch her watching, but her heart would not be still. Because in that moment, beneath the moonlight, everything she thought she knew about her husband had begun to change. She slipped back onto their mat and closed her eyes. Later that night, she woke again. The mat beside her was empty. She rose slowly and noticed something she had never seen before. A section of the floor had been moved aside. Hidden beneath it were weapons, blades, sharp, perfectly balanced. The door opened quietly. Kelechi stepped inside. Moonlight spilled across the floor, and for the first time, she saw them. His hands, both of them, wrapped in rough cloth, darkened with blood. Not from the fields, not from any work she knew. Something else. He froze when he saw her awake. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Chioma whispered,
Who are you?
I serve the king, and the work I do must remain unseen.
The next morning, the village awoke to astonishing news. The bandit leader, who had been terrorizing the region, was dead. His camp had been abandoned in the night. His men had fled into the forest. The threat that had frightened every village along the road had vanished. The villagers celebrated. Some said soldiers had come in secret. Others said the king's warriors must have attacked under cover of darkness.
What have you heard from the
No one
elders?
suspected the quiet farmer, except one person, Chioma. That evening, she confronted
It was
him.
you, wasn't it? For years, people wondered who it was. Who struck down the warlords? Who made cruel men disappear in the night? Some said it was spirits. Some said the king had an army of shadows.
She looked directly at him.
All this time it was you.
Kelechi did not deny it. He could have lied in that moment, but knew she didn't deserve it.
The king sends me where darkness grows, where men use power to harm the innocent.
Chioma shook her head
Do you
slowly.
understand what this means? If anyone ever discovers who you are, men will come looking for you, and they will not stop at you. They will come for us.
Her voice softened as she looked toward Obi.
You cannot stay here.
Chioma said finally, her heart breaking at the words that would change her and her son's life. Kelechi lowered his head slightly.
This village thinks you are nothing. That is the only reason we are safe. If the truth spreads, this place will become buried under a river of blood.
I know.
He always knew this day would come. He tried to build a life with love and family, but it was never truly his to keep. Deep down, he knew it was only borrowed time.
My father served the crown before me. It is a duty passed from father to son.
Chioma closed her eyes briefly.
Not my son.
Now everything made sense. The silence, the discipline, the darkness he carried inside. When she opened her eyes again, her voice was steady.
Then you know what must happen.
Kelechi looked toward his sleeping son.
Yes, I do.
That night, the village slept peacefully. Inside the small hut, the cooking fire had burned low. Kelechi gathered the weapons he had hidden beneath the floorboards. Chioma watched silently. She did not try to stop him, because she understood now. Some men do not belong to quiet lives. Some men belong to shadows. Kelechi knelt beside Obi as the boy slept. For a moment, the assassin disappeared. Only a father remained. He brushed his hand across the boy's hair and placed a small wrapped object beside him. Something Obi would one day understand. Then Kelechi stood. Chioma turned to face him.
You will not come back.
She said softly. It was not a question.
My life was never meant to remain here.
You protected us. And now you must protect us again.
Kelechi held her briefly. Then he stepped toward the doorway. Just before leaving, he looked once more at his sleeping son. Obi stirred slightly and opened his eyes. Half awake, he saw his father standing in the doorway. Kelechi gave the boy a small nod. Then he turned and walked into the morning mist. He did not look back again. By the time the sun rose over the fields, the quiet farmer was gone. Chioma never answered the endless questions as to her husband's whereabouts, fueling speculation and folklore. The villagers would spend many years telling the story of the strange man who once lived among them and suddenly abandoned his wife and son. The man they mocked. The man who spoke little. The man who vanished after the bandit threat disappeared. Some believed the king had sent soldiers. Others believed spirits had punished the wicked. Some suspected the quiet farmer, but no one really knew for sure. Except Chioma. She alone knew the truth. The man they laughed at was the king's deadliest assassin. And somewhere beyond the forests and distant roads of the kingdom, Kelechi continued his silent work, protecting a world that would never know his true name. Hey, story lovers. So, what do you think of this one? Kelechi for me was a lonely soul trying to live a normal life. Sadly, it put his wife and son in danger. Was Chioma right to send him away, or was she overly fearful? Let me know in the comments section. And if you like the soundtracks in the story, I have a treat for you. Both songs are up next. So enjoy the music, and if you like this video, please subscribe and like. Until my next upload, bye for now.
For this village where the sun they set for red, my husband Kelechi know they talk waiting they in head. Them say he be mumu, them say he be cold stone. Then they laugh am for market, make he walk alone. But I see the way he hold me picking for night. How he they work for farm from dawn till the light. People man go round like water for stream. Them no know the man, he be inside my dream. Oh my silent man, waiting you they hide. I they stand for your back, I there for your side. Them say you know well, them say you be strange. But my love for you, we no fee change. Kelechi, oh, speak make I hear your soul. The silence they swallow me, they take control. I tell them for square, make them leave I'm alone. Say my husband has no be made of stone. But sometimes for night, I they see your eye. They shine like the fire for the midnight sky. You go see by the corner, you no go fi sleep. With secrets so heavy and water so deep. I they try touch your hand, you go pull on my way. Like you they fear waiting your mouth won't say, oh my silent man. Waiting you they hide, I they stand for your back, I there for your side. Them say you know well, them say you be strange. But my love for you, we no fee change. Kelechi, oh, speak make I hear your soul. The silence they swallow me, they take control. Last night for the fire, the breeze come cold. You look me for face like story one unfold. You talk I'm soft, your voice come low like thunder where they wait for the wind to blow. You say Chioma, if I tell you the man I be, our home no go safe, you no go feel safe. Fear catch my bone, my heart start to beat. But I know fi run, I know fi retreat. Oh my silent man, waiting you they hide, I they stand for your back, I there for your side. Them say you know well, them say you be strange. But my love for you, we no fee change. Kelechi, oh, speak make I hear your soul. The silence they swallow me, they take control. Waiting they hide inside the dark. Kelechi, my love, you carry the spark. If the world won't break, make it break for you. I go follow you go, I no get fear. Oh my silent man, my silent man, my silent man. Oh no, la 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 la. No no la 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 la. La 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 la.
Sun don't set but my heart still dey boil. I dey dig the ground, I dey work for the soil. Every morning I go farm, I know they talk. Small small steps, not so I dey walk. Feel like as they laugh, they say I be mumu. They look my face, they say I be juju. Kelechi quiet, they no get mouth at all. They no say na me be the king wall. I dey sharp in my cutlass when the night come, doing the dirty work, making the heart numb. Carry the burden, carry the heavy weight, protecting the kingdom, sealing the affair. If I talk, the house goes scatter. If I speak, the roof go fall down. Chioma, my love, make you no vex for me. The silence not for you when my picking no be. I be the shadow where the king they hide, with too many secrets locked up inside. Chioma look me with water for her eye. She say, Kelechi, why you they always lie? The village people, they mock me for square. They say you be coward, they say you no care. She no know the blood where they stain my hand. To keep the peace inside this our land. I see my pikin no be, they play for dirt. I know I'm making him ever feel the hurt, but the things I don't do, the lies I don't take. If I tell you the truth, your heart go break. So I hold my peace, I look the other side. Inside the silence, not there I they hide. If I talk, the house go scatter. If I speak, the roof go fall down. Chioma, my love, make you no vex for me. The silence not for you, when my picking no be. I be the shadow where the king they hide, with too many secrets locked up inside. I see the way she dey look me with fear. I want to hold her, I want to stay near, but the man I be, he no get any friend. The path of darkness until the very end. I tell her wife, if you know who I be, you no go ever want to look at me. I turn my back, I walk into the dark, leaving the silence to leave another mark. If I talk, the house goes scatter. If I speak, the roof go fall down. Chioma, my love, make you no vex for me. The silence not for you, when my picking no be. I be the shadow where the king they hide, with too many secrets locked up inside. Quiet man, quiet life. Save my son, save my wife. The secret heavy, past my power. I be the killer in the midnight hour. Just let them laugh, let them talk down. I carry this cross, I carry it alone.